recording vocals, but there's a delay. Here's how to fix it. You can do this in Ableton by pressing Command comma, and then going into your buffer size and decreasing the samples to as low as possible without introducing any additional noise. Around, I would say 256 to 512 samples. That's usually the sweet spot for this. For me personally, it's not going to say output latency of 135. That's not going to be super common. Reason why is because I'm recording my DAW audio and my DAW interface right now. Usually it's sitting around 45 milliseconds. By decreasing this as much as you can drop down this overall latency. In order to fix that, you can add in driver error compensation, basically going into the negative value of whatever the overall latency is. And now we have 0 latency. So if we were to record, there wouldn't be any latency when we're singing, making it a lot easier to track vocals. It's important to note that if you are running a session that has a bunch of plugins like Serum, Omnisphere, a lot of drum samples, a lot of EQing, you're gonna run into latency just based on the amount of plugins you have, as well as if you have anything on the master chain. For me, since I'm working in an untreated space, I generally have Sound ID reference on my masters all the time. But when I'm tracking, it's best to just delete it and remove it and keep it off until you're actually mixing, because Sound ID reference adds a ton of latency. It adds like a full second, I think, maybe even more. So it's important to just leave it off because it's not important. That's generally what I'll do for something like this. It's important to note that you're gonna have input and output latency whenever you're working, and it's important to drop that down as much as you can. With most interfaces, you're gonna run into about the same amount of latency unless it's a huge outboard system. The main thing to note too is to increase your buffer size after you're done recording to make sure you're listening back at the highest quality audio. Another pro tip, but if your session just isn't working and it's super sluggish, it's just not recording super well, export an MP3 or a WAV file of the full session and then bring it into a new project file and then record there. You're gonna run into basically no latency at all because there's gonna be no plugins and it's gonna be a lot easier to track your vocals. Follow for more music production tips.